So the first principle of good government and or liberty would be that the only reliable basis for sound government and just human relations is natural law. And Cicero, who was a member of the Roman Senate, was the first person to ever write about this as it related to government. He was murdered 2 years after Caesar. He was trying to preserve the Roman Republic from falling into an emperorship, and he failed. But let's just quickly read what he said about natural law. He said, "True law is right reason in agreement with nature. It is of universal application, unchanging and everlasting. It summons to duty by its commands and averts from wrongdoing by its prohibitions. It is a sin to try to alter this law, nor is it allowable to repeal any part of it, and it is impossible to abolish it entirely. We cannot be freed from its obligations by Senate or people, and we need not look outside ourselves for an expounder or interpreter of it. And there will be not different laws at Rome and at Athens, or different laws now and in the future, but one eternal and unchangeable law will be valid for all nations and all times. And there will be one master and ruler, that is God, over us all, for he is the author of this law, its promulgator, and its enforcing judge. Whoever is disobedient is fleeing from himself and denying his human nature, and by reason of this very fact he will suffer the worst punishment." So, the laws of nature, or nature's God, they are eternal in their basic goodness. They are universal in their application, and it's a code of right reason from the Creator himself. It cannot be altered, it cannot be repealed, it cannot be abandoned by legislators or the people themselves, even though they pretend to do so. In natural law, we're dealing with factors of absolute reality. It's basic in its principles, comprehensible to the human mind, and totally correct and morally right in its general operation. So, what else did he say? He said that reason was a divine gift that we as humans shared with God. So, because of that, we could understand perfect reason, and that would be wisdom. So, and he actually looked forward to Christianity. He wasn't a Christian, he wasn't a Jew, but he looked forward to Christianity, and he understood the first great commandment, which love the Lord your God, love him totally. He said, love truth, write laws, seek to understand the order in which the Creator set everything in motion for the happiness of man. He understood that the laws were such as to create an environment where man can be the most happy. So, then the second great commandment, which is necessary to hold a society together, is that you understand we're all equal before the Creator. We are not all equal in ability or intellect or strength, or we're not equal in that way, but we are equal before the Creator. Therefore, we were to love our neighbor as ourselves. We were to abide by the golden rule, which was don't do to someone what you don't want done to yourself, and do to them what you would want done to yourself. So, neighborly love and kindness would be the glue that would hold society together. So how did that relate to legislation? Well, he said if the laws violate natural law, they're not law. He said they all need to be measured against natural law. So he had a vision of what a proper society would look like. He said, as one and the same nature holds together and supports the universe, all of whose parts are in harmony with one another, so men are united in nature, but by reason of their depravity they quarrel, not realizing that they are of one blood and subject to one and the same protecting power. If this fact were understood, surely man would live the life of the gods. And I find that interesting because God told the Israelites, he said, I'm going to lay all this out for you. This is exactly how everything works. And this is how it's going to work to your best benefit. And if you will do this, then you will live as the days of heaven on earth. That was his promise. So Cicero is recognizing this, and it's, learn these laws, it's perfect wisdom, operate them, govern yourself by them, and it will lead to the most happiness that man can find. Some examples of natural law would be unalienable rights, unalienable duties, habeas corpus. You have a right to know what you're being accused of. All this is found in Old Testament law if you'll look. Limited government, separation of powers, checks and balances, self-preservation, a right to contract, a right to be married and have a family, reparation to victims. That was also found in Old Testament law. In fact, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth wasn't, oh, you knocked my tooth out, I'm going to knock your tooth out. It's the same word that is used, that is translated peace, meaning wholeness. In other words, you knocked out his tooth, you're going to do something to make him whole. So it was all about reparation to the victim, not the system that we have now where you are victimized, the person who victimized you is put in prison, and you pay the taxes that take care of him. So you are victimized over and over again. It's never made right. So that was not the original system. So, and then finally, no taxation without representation. So all this understanding of natural law is what led Thomas Jefferson to write this in the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I just want to throw in that originally that was life, liberty, and property, but because the founders wanted to have the opportunity to end slavery and people considered their slaves their property, they changed it to the pursuit of happiness so there would be a foundational document allowing them to eventually end that practice.